My name is Zane. Really bad news for Rivian today. Rivian reportedly considers laying off 700 employees, around 5% of its workforce. This is not good news for Rivian. We don't know why, but we're going to try to understand why they're doing this. What's the thought process behind all of this for Rivian? Now, it's incredible to get this news from Rivian because it was only recent the company announced that it produced over 4,400 vehicles during the second quarter. That's the quarter ending on the 30th of June, last month, a 72% increase over the previous quarter. Now, it's already delivered 4,467 vehicles to customer, a 267% increase over the first quarter. So how many of those EVs were R1T electric pickup trucks? Last quarter, Rivian reported a net loss of $1.59 billion based on a $95 million in revenue. So Rivian's goal is to build 25,000 vehicles this year. Now that will be just over 9,000 vehicles per quarter, and we have 4 quarters in a year to remember that precisely. So considering that in the last quarter, the second quarter of the year, they built just over 4,400, we can assume that the next quarter we're looking at perhaps 5,000 to 6,000 vehicles delivered. Now, with that being said, that's still not 9,000 vehicles per quarter. Now, we've got 2 quarters left with the assumption that Rivian can perhaps build maybe 5,000 vehicles for the next 2 quarters. We're assuming that Rivian could build maybe 10 to 15,000 vehicles before the end of the year. Now, this will get them close to their goal. They will end up delivering perhaps just over 20,000 vehicles, but maybe not the full 25,000. Now, Rivian is considering laying off 5% of its workforce, 14,000 employees, and 5% of that is 700 people. Wow, that's incredible. Now, Rivian spokesperson Miranda Jimenez says that the company doesn't have anything to add at this point. Now, the news comes as an important time for Rivian. The company is just starting to ramp up its production of its pickup truck SUV and delivery vans for Amazon. In its most recent earning, the company said it produced roughly around 2,553 vehicles, delivered 1,227, and is still planning on having made 25,000 vehicles by the end of the year. So we're a long way from that. So if Rivian is considering cutting off its workforce, maybe they're confident that they can create 25,000 vehicles this year. Perhaps they're confident that without those people, they can still run as a healthy company. They can still achieve their target at 25,000 vehicles this year. We don't know to be certain because we don't work for Rivian. It would be cool if we did, but we don't. And in other big news that's been driving everyone crazy recently, Apple CEO Tim Cook allegedly took time out from the annual Sun Valley conference to take a trip in a Rivian automotive electric vehicle. Now, obviously, immediately what people are thinking is that Apple is going to buy Rivian. I would not be surprised. Rivian is cheap. They're cheap. Apple could buy Rivian at a hostile takeover. They could buy Rivian without a hostile takeover. And Rivian is kind of the perfect company for Apple to buy. Kind of. It's an American company for one. It's got a factory in America. It's a startup with huge expectations, a lot of funding, especially from Amazon. Ford has been selling off a little bit. But most important is that they genuinely have a really good brand. Rivian does. The problem is they can't build enough vehicles. They don't have enough money. Not enough factory. Apple could help in this way. There's a few companies where Apple has been rumored to buy recently. One of them is Rivian. The other one is Canoo. Now, truth to be told, which is more likely? Obviously, Rivian. Rivian is doing way better. They're building more vehicles for one. Rivian is a much better brand. They're much more famous. They're much more popular. Rivian is building the exact vehicles that people love. SUV for family vehicles that are performance vehicles because they're electric and they're fast. They can be sporty. They can be off-roading. And they're building a pickup truck that Americans love. The best-selling car in America is a pickup truck, the Ford F-150. But perhaps you haven't heard the best yet. Apple as a company, Apple is the phone's version of Land Rover. They're the phone version of Ferrari. If Apple bought Rivian, Apple would own their own version of Land Rover. Rivian is already known for being quite luxurious. What they're not known for is having good software. Apple could help them in this area. And they're dirt cheap, for Apple at least. Apple would buy Rivian like buying a cup of coffee each morning. Seriously, I'm not even joking. But it's kind of exciting to think that Apple might be interested in Rivian. But of course, on the other hand, Apple might not be interested in Rivian at all. But it's the perfect company for Apple. I've always said that Apple should just buy a company like Polestar instead of trying to build their own EV, which is going to be ridiculously long and ridiculously incredibly difficult. Instead, they should just buy a company like Polestar. But I got to be honest, Rivian is a much better choice for Apple than Polestar, because Polestar is already owned by two major companies, Geely, which is a Chinese company, and Volvo. And right now, the United States isn't a huge fan of China and Chinese company. I know it sounds bad to say, but it's just honesty. Apple is no fan of Chinese company right now, because America isn't a fan of Chinese company right now. But I still remain optimistic. Most likely option is Rivian. They're an American company. They've got no ties outside of America. In fact, they have no active factories outside of America. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to see more. I will keep you up to date with anything else coming out of Rivian. So if you got any questions, leave a comment and I'll see you in the next video.